A vast ocean of stars stretches infinitely, cold and unyielding. In the distance, celestial bodies pulse like ancient beacons, whispering secrets from the dawn of time. A single ship drifts through the void, its hull scarred by battle, a silent testament to a war that has lasted far too long. A voice emerges from the darkness, a transmission carried across space. They told us the war would end with blood. That one species would fall, and the other would reign supreme. But war does not only destroy the body, it reshapes the soul. And in the heart of this endless conflict, something neither side expected was born. A force neither human nor Lyrian, but something more. The ship continues drifting. On board, a man stares at a hollow screen filled with combat logs. His reflection flickers in the dim glow, a soldier weary of war. Beside him, a woman, silver-haired and alien, watches with knowing eyes. Between them, a bond deeper than battle, forged in survival and something far greater. A deep hum resonates through the ship. The stars shimmer, as if acknowledging the presence of something new, something ancient awakening. Beyond the battlefield, a new legacy begins. The battlefield is a graveyard of twisted metal and scorched earth. The sky, painted a deep crimson, churns with the remnants of energy discharges from the battle that had raged only hours before. The wind howls through the broken skeletons of war machines, carrying the scent of burned ozone and the metallic tang of blood. A soft, flickering glow pulses from ruined structures, the last dying embers of collapsed defensive shields. In the distance, something groans, a fractured mech sinking further into the rubble. A low hum of energy crackles sporadically through the air, the echoes of technology still struggling to function in the aftermath. Commander Jason Reeves moves like a shadow between the wreckage, his plasma rifle held at the ready. His face is streaked with grime, his combat armor dented from the onslaught. His tactical HUD flickers erratically, trying and failing to connect to the command network. The silence around him is deafening, unnatural, like the battlefield itself is holding its breath. Then movement. Beneath the mangled remains of a fallen mech, a glimmer of silver in the moonlight. Jason freezes, eyes narrowing. He steps forward cautiously, his grip tightening on his weapon. As he closes the distance, the sight becomes clearer, a figure partially buried beneath debris, motionless. The smooth, luminescent silver strands of her hair splay out like liquid light against the dark soil. Her skin, a pale lavender gray, shimmers faintly under the dim glow of distant fires. Lena Varys, a Lyrian warrior. Her battle armor ornate and alien in design bears deep gashes, glowing streaks of phosphorescent blood seeping through the cracks. Despite the injuries, there is an undeniable strength to her form, an otherworldly presence that defies the desolation surrounding her. Jason kneels beside her, fingers instinctively reaching for a pulse. The moment his touch meets her skin, her eyes snap open storm gray, swirling like distant tempests. He exhales sharply. Lena, weakly, who are you? Jason, Commander Jason Reeves, Earth Marine Corps. And you're in bad shape. A faint flicker of amusement ghosts across her lips before pain seizes her expression. Jason's scanner beeps softly, confirming his fears her spinal column has taken severe damage. By military code, she's a lost cause. A soldier left behind. She must know it too. Her fingers twitch against the wreckage as she forces the words out. Lena, grimacing, leave me. Others may have survived. Jason glances at his HUD. Red markers flicker at the edges of his vision. Enemy patrols are closing in. A logical soldier would leave. A survivor would cut his losses and move. Jason grips his rifle. Jason, like hell I will. Ignoring the burn in his muscles, he begins lifting the wreckage off of her. She gasps as he moves her carefully into his arms. A sharp breath, half pain, half surprise, escapes her lips. Lena, stubborn human. Jason smirks despite the weight of their situation. Jason, you haven't seen stubborn yet, sweetheart. The ruins stretch endlessly in all directions, shattered spires of what was once a thriving outpost now reduced to jagged silhouettes against the sky. The air crackles with residual energy fields, phantom circuits still twitching in broken structures. Distant shadows move, watching, hunting. Jason navigates the labyrinth of destruction, Lena cradled against him. Her breathing is shallow but steady, her head resting against his shoulder. The occasional flicker of her consciousness brushes against his own, a sensation he can't quite explain. Lena, weakly, smirking, you're remarkably steady for someone carrying dead weight. Jason, Marine training. Though I gotta say, you're the most attractive cargo I've ever had. A quiet chuckle from her, but the humor is fleeting. Her fingers suddenly dig into his armor. A warning. Lena, stop. Jason halts instantly, muscles coiled. Through the haze of settling dust, his visor picks up what she already sensed: silent figures moving through the wreckage. The enemy. Lena, they hunt in triangular formations. The visible ones are bait, watch for flankers. Jason exhales through his nose. Smart. He adjusts his stance, his rifle angling slightly, tracking movement. As expected, the moment his attention fixes on the advancing pair in front, a third shadow lunges from the side. He spins, plasma fire scorching the air. The ambusher drops before it fully realizes its mistake. The others hesitate. Jason, grinning, looks like I've got a good teacher. Lena watches him with something unreadable in her storm-colored gaze. As the remaining enemies scatter, Jason presses forward, weaving through the ruins with her in his arms. They reach a half-collapsed structure, its skeletal remains casting long, fractured shadows. He ducks inside, lowering Lena onto a relatively stable platform. His pulse pounds in his ears. For a moment, there is only silence between them, an unspoken acknowledgement of the chaos they barely escaped. Then, she speaks, her voice tinged with something close to curiosity. Lena, flirting while evading death, how delightfully human. Jason exhales a short laugh, shaking his head. Jason, what can I say? I multitask. Her lips curl slightly at the edges, a ghost of amusement before exhaustion overtakes her. Jason leans against the cold metal wall, scanning the area through his visor. In the eerie glow of burning embers outside, her silver hair shimmers. The contrast between destruction and the strange, unearthly beauty before him is unsettling. He should be focusing on survival, on regrouping. But instead, he finds himself staring at her, this Lyrian warrior who should have been left behind, but now feels like something far more significant. Outside, the shadows stir again. The night is far from over. Jason carries Lena into the remains of an ancient transport vessel. The air inside is thick with the scent of dust and aged metal. The walls, lined with embedded circuitry, pulse faintly with an energy long dormant, veins of forgotten technology running like capillaries along the structure. It feels as if the ship itself is alive, waiting. At the heart of the chamber stands a crystalline pod, its surface pulsating with an eerie, rhythmic glow like the heartbeat of something beyond comprehension. The energy radiating from it hums through the room, sending shivers up Jason's spine. Lena, softly, reverently, this isn't just medical technology, it's sacred to my people. It bonds the patient to the healer. Jason steps closer, his fingers brushing the surface of the pod. The vibration beneath his touch is subtle, yet he can feel it reaching out, sensing him, responding. Jason bonds, as in. Lena's gaze flickers toward him, a shadow of hesitation passing through her storm-gray eyes. Lena more binding than marriage. For a brief moment, silence stretches between them. The weight of her words settles heavily in Jason's chest, but urgency overrides hesitation. He shakes off the thought, focusing on the immediate need. He gently lowers her into the pod, watching as the crystal structure adjusts to her presence. The chamber responds instantly, the glow intensifying as tendrils of energy wrap around her form like ethereal vines, weaving through her wounds, stitching her broken body back together with something far beyond human science. Jason takes a step back, but a sharp pulse courses through him, a warmth spreading through his limbs. Then, something brushes against his mind. Not just something. Her. A presence, foreign yet familiar, threads through his consciousness. Images flash Lena's memories, her past battles, the weight of lost she's carried. He feels her pain, her resilience, her admiration. And she, in turn, experiences his unwavering loyalty, his instinct to protect, his unspoken thoughts of her. The bond forms before either of them can resist it. Then, the light fades. Lena sits up, fully healed, her body restored, but her breath catches as she looks at Jason. There's something different now. A shift neither of them can deny. Lena, whispering, "I can feel you." Jason exhales, flexing his fingers, sensing something in himself that wasn't there before. Jason, yeah, that's different. The horizon bleeds into shades of violet and gold as the first light of dawn pierces through the drifting smoke. Ash falls like spectral snow, coating the ruins in a ghostly shroud. The air is thick with static, the distant hum of enemy machinery vibrating through the fractured earth. Jason and Lena emerge from their makeshift shelter, their bodies moving in perfect synchronization, an unspoken rhythm guiding their steps. The bond formed in the healing chamber pulses between them, no longer just an instinct, but something deeper, something primal. The enemy is already waiting. Dragger war drones hover in the air, their elongated limbs twisting unnaturally as they scan the ruins. Their crimson optical sensors flicker erratically, processing the new threat. Below, a group of ground soldiers advance in formation, weapons humming with unstable energy, their movements calculated, methodical. Lena's fingers tighten around the hilt of her blade. The weapon hums to life, its blue-white glow casting sharp reflections against the crumbling stone. She glances at Jason, the faintest smirk playing on her lips. Lena, murmuring, "You shoot, I slice." Jason cocks his plasma rifle, a knowing grin forming in response. His pulse is steady, his aim already aligned with their enemies. Jason sounds like a plan, gorgeous. A single heartbeat of silence stretches between them. Then they move. Lena is a phantom of light and steel, her blade carving through the first wave of soldiers with terrifying precision. Jason provides cover, his shots cutting down targets with unerring accuracy. Every movement is in sync, as if they are two halves of a single entity, anticipating each other's actions before they happen. An enemy soldier lunges at Lena from behind. Jason has already fired. A war drone shifts to flank Jason. Lena's blade cleaves it in half before it can react. The battlefield is chaos, but they are not. They are the storm. As the last enemy falls, Jason exhales sharply, lowering his rifle. Across from him, Lena straightens, brushing silver hair from her face, her eyes still alight with the energy of battle. Lena, breathless, grinning, "I think that's a new record." Jason smirks, reloading his weapon with a practiced flick. "Jason, you say that every time." A distant explosion rumbles through the ruins. The war isn't over yet. But for now, they stand victorious, together. The air is thick with the scent of smoldering metal and scorched earth. The distant echoes of war have faded into an eerie silence, broken only by the crackling embers of destruction. Jason and Lena move cautiously through the wreckage, their movements instinctively synchronized, an unspoken understanding guiding their steps. Then Lena stops. Her body tenses, her expression shifting from alertness to something else. Something deeper. Her hand drifts toward her abdomen, fingers trembling slightly as if confirming an impossible reality. Jason, noticing her change in demeanor, "Lena? What's wrong?" She hesitates, her storm gray eyes locked onto his. The bond they share pulses between them, a silent current of emotions neither can suppress. "Lena, Jason, there's something you should know about Lyrian biology." Jason watches her closely, his pulse quickening. The weight in her voice, the way her fingers press against her stomach, it's not just exhaustion or battle fatigue. Jason, softly, tell me. She takes a steadying breath before speaking, her voice barely above a whisper. Lena, the healing chamber didn't just restore my injuries. It accelerated something I didn't expect. A beat. Jason's eyes flicked to her abdomen, realization dawning. Jason, stunned, you mean? Lena, nodding, I'm carrying a child, our child. A stillness falls between them, heavier than the ruins around them. Jason's mind reels. He had faced death, fought impossible odds, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. Jason, in disbelief, but how is that even possible? Our species. Lena, smiling faintly, were never meant to be compatible. But our bond changed that. It fused something in me, in us. Jason exhales, running a hand through his dust-covered hair. The battlefield, the war, all of it fades to the background as he takes in the gravity of her words. His heartbeat echoes in his ears. Then he laughs, a quiet, breathless sound. Jason, grinning, guess I'm full of surprises. Lena chuckles softly, shaking her head. Lena, you certainly are. A long pause. Then Jason steps forward, placing a firm but gentle hand over hers. Through their bond, he feels that not just her emotions, but something else. A new presence, faint but undeniable. A life unlike any other. Their child. Jason, murmuring, we'll figure this out. Together. Lena nods, her eyes glistening with something softer than battle-hardened resolve. A future neither of them had seen coming, but one they were ready to fight for. The war wasn't over. But for the first time, they had something worth more than victory. The flickering light from a control console casts shadows across the steel walls of the hidden safe house. The hum of energy pulses faintly through the structure, a stark contrast to the chaos beyond its walls. Jason paces near a hollow display, his armored boots echoing against the cold metal floor. His expression is one of deep concentration, but his tension is betrayed by the way his fingers clench into fists at his sides. Across the room, Lena lounges on an old repurposed cot, her silver hair tumbling over her shoulders. Her battle-worn armor has been replaced by something more comfortable, but the warrior's fire still lingers in her eyes along with something new. Something softer. She watches Jason with quiet amusement. Lena, smirking, the fearless warrior who took down an army, undone by fatherhood. Jason stops mid-pace, turning to her with an exasperated look. Jason, grumbling, I've fought off legions of enemy soldiers, survived impossible odds, and now. Lena, raising an eyebrow, now you're terrified of a baby? He opens his mouth to argue but closes it with a sigh, rubbing the back of his neck. Jason, muttering, it's different. Lena chuckles, reaching out to take his hand, guiding him to sit beside her. He complies, albeit reluctantly. Lena, Jason, you don't have to have all the answers. Neither of us do. But this child, our child, is proof that there's something greater than this war. Something worth living for. He exhales, the weight of her words settling over him like a protective shroud. He looks at her not just as a warrior, but as the woman who had fought beside him, bled beside him, and now was carrying something more precious than either of them had known possible. His fingers tighten around hers. Jason, softly, I just want to do this right. Lena, smiling, you will. Because you're not doing it alone. A long beat. The distant rumble of war lingers outside, but inside, there is peace. Jason finally allows himself to breathe. Their fight isn't over. But this battle, the battle for something greater, has only just begun. Fade to black. Jason and Lena watch in silent awe as energy flickers around them. Their unborn child's presence pulses through the room, a radiant force that hums with an intelligence far beyond anything they could have imagined. Lights flicker, the air vibrates with unseen power, and their own abilities, speed, strength, awareness have begun to evolve. The factions are restless. Leaders demand answers. A meeting is called, and as military officials from both human and Lyrian forces gather, they witness the impossible: a child, still in the womb, bending reality. Screens flicker, data streams rewrite themselves. The laws of physics, as they know them, are shifting. Lena, softly, to Jason, they are afraid. Jason, watching the officials, they should be. The air crackles. Something ancient is awakening. A desperate attack erupts. Enemies from the shadows launch their final assault, aiming to destroy what they cannot understand. Explosions rip through the night sky, and chaos reigns. But then, a force beyond human or Lyrian comprehension surges forward. The child, still unborn, extends its influence. Jason and Lena move as one, their bodies guided by something greater. Their bond now an unbreakable current of energy that bridges entire civilizations. Enemy ships flicker and vanish. Weapons fail mid-fire. Soldiers fall to their knees, overwhelmed by a force they cannot fight. A new era is dawning. And at its center, a being unlike any before, born of war, yet destined for peace. The room hums with a blend of human and Lyrian technology, a perfect fusion of two civilizations once at war. Soft, pulsating lights illuminate the chamber, casting ethereal glows on the metallic walls. Machines monitor the room in hushed efficiency, their interfaces responding not just to physical input, but to something more, something unseen. Jason stands at the edge of the medical platform, tension rippling through every muscle. His fingers twitch at his sides, his pulse racing faster than any battle he's ever faced. Lena lies on the examination bed, her silver hair damp with exertion, but her expression is one of quiet strength. A final pulse of energy surges through the room. Then, a single, crystalline chime echoes through the facility as the child enters the world. The air seems to vibrate with something ancient and new all at once. Jason watches, breath held, as a soft golden glow flickers around the newborn's tiny form. A child unlike any before, its delicate skin shimmering between human warmth and Lyrian luminescence. A perfect blend of both worlds. The infant's eyes flutter open, one storm gray like its mother's, the other earth brown like its father's. Jason, softly, a bridge between worlds. Lena, exhausted but radiant, reaches out. Jason moves beside her, his hand settling gently on their child's small form. As their fingers touch, a faint warmth spreads through him, an undeniable connection forming in an instant. The child, still so new to existence, responds. Not with words, but with something deeper. A pulse of thought, an echo of awareness that brushes against their minds. Jason feels it. So does Lena. The child is more than they could have ever imagined. Neutral ground, 3 months later. The Great Hall is unlike any that has ever existed. Human and Lyrian delegates stand shoulder to shoulder, their banners once symbols of war, now displayed side by side in uneasy truce. The air is thick with expectation, tension coiling like a storm about to break. At the center of it all, Jason and Lena. They stand united, the child in Lena's arms, wrapped in a cloth woven from both human and Lyrian threads. The infant's presence is undeniable, radiating an aura of something greater than mere flesh and bone. Lena, softly, to Jason, looks like we just rewrote history. Jason smirks, but his gaze is steady. He can feel it, the weight of change settling around him like the first light of dawn after a long, brutal night. One by one, the leaders step forward, their hardened expressions melting into something resembling hope. The old ways are crumbling, making way for something new. Something neither side had dared to dream possible. A future where war is not the only path. A future forged not by bloodshed but by the child who now looks up at them with storm gray and earth brown eyes. A hushed silence settles over the hall. Then, a single voice rises, one of the delegates speaking words that have never been uttered before. Delegate, what do we do next? Jason and Lena exchange a glance. They already know the answer. They step forward together, the child nestled between them. Jason, we build something new. The vast emptiness of space stretches endlessly before them. Stars pulse in quiet rhythms, galaxies swirl like luminous storms in the distance. A new era has begun, but the path forward remains uncertain. A voice carries through the cosmic void, the echo of something larger than history itself. The universe is not made of battles alone. It is built upon choices, upon those who dare to reach beyond fear, beyond war. Tonight, we witness the first step toward something greater. A ship soars past the screen, its course set toward uncharted territories. On board, a child gazes out into the stars, its eyes shimmering with a reflection of two worlds. The bridge between civilizations has been forged, but the journey is far from over. What comes next is up to us.